and available too, Gary, so maybe you can.
Okay, so it is recording. So I'm going to give you back the screen. Okay, Garrett.
Okay, there we go.
All right, we good to go?
Good to go.
All right, fantastic. So thank you, everyone. So as Alex pointed out, so my name is Jim Travers. I am the Director of Transportation, Mobility, and Parking for the city, and I'm joined today with Garrett Bilala, who is he's our Assistant Director of Transportation, Mobility, and Parking. So Garrett and I are recent additions to the city. Both came at the same time. We both came from Stanford most recently. We've been with the city for maybe nearly 10 months now, coming on 10 months. So one of the first items that the mayor talked to me about was improvements to, well, actually one of the first things we really talked about was movement of projects that have been, the desire of the city to take on for a period of time and hadn't moved. And so we've been working on some of those. One of them, and what we think is probably going to be the most interesting and influential project, is the Wall Street corridor improvements. So money was set aside in the capital budget for the city to address issues along Wall Street, and also including the intersection of Wall and Belden and West and Mott, and going down Wall Street to Main Street, over Main Street, back up Burnell. And Garrett and I have spent a considerable amount of time walking the corridor, talking to some folks, having lots of community meetings. And I think one of the things that we heard the most is a strong desire from the community for something to happen here, and that it's been a long time, right? I think this is, this speaks to, this is right in the middle of Garrett and I's wheelhouse, right? So what we have done is we've designed a number of traffic safety improvement projects, and we actually are, I will tout ourselves in the back a little bit, national award winners for, America's Transportation Award for one of the top projects that we did, that we reclaimed, that had an economic development component in it, as well as traffic safety and mobility in Stanford. We think that Wall Street is really ripe for this. And some of the things that we've been doing at this point is really looking at, the crashes that occur, really spending a lot of time observing what people do. And one of the things that we instantly noted is the intersection opposite the library is horrible. Lots of accidents that occur at the intersection. Really no way for people to safely cross the street. You see there's no sidewalk that's on the other side. People have brought a path through, but cars come through at a higher rate of speed. We have a fair amount of accidents that occur there. Garrett has spent some time really analyzing some of the data. And for example, we see when we look at our crash data and we take in all factors that include the length of the road and the volume of the road, and speed factors, we see that Wall Street is the second highest crash street in the city, right? And that is at 107 crashes over the period of time from 2015. Equally to that, we saw 105 crashes just in the intersection, right? So as we go in each of the approaches, right, that doesn't necessarily get calculated to West Avenue, but or Wall Street, but you'll see that incredible amount of problems that exist in the intersection. And Garrett, if you could shoot up the screen. So today really starts a process that we just wanted to reach out to you guys, and Alex had reached out to me and said, hey, could we have a little bit of a presentation of what you guys are doing, because the library is right there. So we said, sure. So we have contracted with Fuss and O'Neill, which we think are some of the leaders in this part, to help us engage the community and come up with a design. So what we have for funding is the funding to do the design and the funding to do the to do all the community engagement. And from that, Garrett and I have already started to write grants to do this when it's happened. So really what we look at is this is a picture of the intersection, and you see going down Wall Street today. Garrett, if you can get me to the next screen. Now, this is really what Garrett and I are just thinking, right? That one back, please. Yeah, there you go. This is really what we're just thinking about, right? So the end result of what will come out of this is really coming out from community meetings. But what we know from being traffic professionals is that we need to tee up this intersection to get it to the safest point possible. And you'll see here that in here, we provided an opportunity for the pedestrians to cross all legs of the intersection, right? And we're showing two different things.
I believe Alex got kicked out, so he just entered again.
Okay.
Hopefully he can hear us.
All right. So you'll see, just for sake of what we could do, we did two things here. One, on the lower portion of the screen, you see where we replaced that and created some additional green space. And on the other side, we really created a plaza. And how that'll come to play will really be through the design. But what we see as key components here is coming down Wall Street. We really see Wall Street with much wider sidewalks, getting rid of the angle parking for more traditional parallel parking, gets us wider sidewalks that we could put with great pedestrian lighting that goes through the corridor, adding street trees, really creating a model for what we know what people want to use the street for. It'll go down, and you'll see on the top of the screen, Burnell Boulevard occupies some of those same characteristics where there are going to be street trees and pedestrian level lighting there. But a key component to this is really a bi-directional or two-way Burnell Boulevard. And we've had some conversations with the transit district. It changes a little bit about how they operate, but it actually creates a little bit more efficiency, right? Because it puts the bus in the direction that the transit rider wants to go into. And we'll move some of the canopies from one side to the other. So we'll balance them out. And I think we're going to get, we'll get a two-way Burnell Boulevard. So we'll be able to use that to relieve some of the stress related to traffic that exists on Wall Street. But doing that also will relieve some of the stress that's on River Street. We think River Street could be a great pedestrian street, one where we can close it for festivals on a regular basis and really activate the street. But also opening up Burnell Boulevard as two-way really opens up the opportunity to use the garage. And what we're also looking at in this plan is how we can create a better connection from the garage to Wall Street and ultimately up to West Avenue. And we think if we have better pedestrian crossings here, that we can utilize this to have better access to the library and get people safely across the street. So our plan will continue down from this intersection all the way down to Main Street. If you can go to the next screen, Garrett.
Yep. Yeah, I apologize for the spelling of Belden. That slipped by. It should have an EN on that.
Yeah. Oh, see, we're new. So when we did this, so you're like, don't hold it against us.
Yeah.
We're learning. So this is kind of a little bit what I was talking about before we get to the next one, where we could have some great green space on one side, maybe a plaza, maybe there's a plaza on both sides. That'll come out in the community conversations, but we really see that this is an opportunity to create a huge gateway into what was once the downtown of Norwalk, right? And we have bike lanes that are existing on both sides. We'll get bike lanes that will be coming down, on Wall Street. So we'll have great mobility for all users. We'll have really wide sidewalks. And Garrett, if you can give me that last page before we open it up to the group. So this is kind of what we're really looking at for the phases. So for phase one are the areas that are covered in purple, right? And so that is really the conversion of Burnell Boulevard to two-way, improvements to Belden. And in this one, we did get the spelling right, just to give us a little props, right? And then going down Wall Street, continuing down Wall Street all the way to Main Street, which we're going to, in the yellow, connect to existing lot SIP. So it's a local transportation improvement program that the city has already procured. So we'll have some betterments that occur there, right? So that's going to be already in play. Then we'll look at phase 2, which is the Main Street and Burnell Boulevard that you see in blue. And then really we see the light blue and then the darker blue on Commerce and on Isaacs, really integrating how they connect as well. We think that there's a lot of opportunity on both of those streets to dramatically change how we use the street, dramatically increase the safety and mobility of every user that's going on the street, and really create a unique sense of place. So we're really excited to start the engagement process, and that's what really starts today. And we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, but we're going to be hosting a number of community meetings. Garrett, how many community meetings did we get the consultant to commit to?
Yeah, so we're looking to have 4 major gatherings, community meetings, and 3 of those will be charrettes. The first one's intended to just really be a listening session, to hear from the public, to meet all the stakeholders. Sorry, I'm getting a little kickback. With the second meeting, just to come up with some of the alternatives and share some of the different possibilities of what this corridor could look like. And then the final 2 meetings really get into the details of the design, whether it's preliminary or semi-final. But we're really excited. The consultant we chose, one of the things that really stood out to us was their public outreach and public engagement. So we're very excited to move that forward.
So we want to be really respectful of your time today. This was really just a kickoff to let you see a little bit about what's in our heads. What we're going to be engaging the community in a much more consistent manner. We think that this process is going to take us about 18 months from today to actually getting the design. So we're going to start ramping up very shortly. We're going to be doing Zoom, and hopefully better than, but some Zoom meetings, and if in-person meetings allow, we really want to have some in-person meetings. But what also want to just answer any questions you have before we allow you back into your regularly scheduled meeting. So happy to answer any questions if you want.
Well, thank you, Jim. This has been very helpful. Maybe I could just make a comment and then ask a question.
Sure.
First of all, this looks really promising. When I was mayor, my administration did the Wall Street project, and we've been waiting for something like this to bump it up a notch. So this looks terrific. I have to say, if I may, if you've been consulting the last 10 months and nobody's ever contacted the library about it, I think that's a little bit of a deficit in the consultation planning. And I hear you say it will be fixed going forward, and I certainly hope it will be. For example, I see you have it looks like a third of the block of Mott is included in the project. What happens in those little spaces in front of the library is very important because, as you know, a lot of patrons go there for 2 minutes and want to put a book in the drop-off area or run in and get something. And so how those spaces on Mott alongside of our building before you get to our parking lot, how those are designed is really quite important. So I hope you'll be able to schedule a discussion with just a library staff and the board about this, as well as having us get informed about when the community meetings will be happening. But I'm glad you came tonight because I think at least I felt that this is a little late coming. It looks very good though. Could I ask, what is the stage of where Mott Avenue is included?
So really what we're looking at, this is, let me just back up. Like, so we were engaged with, we answered a call of people who called us and said, hey, we want to talk about it. So we have not started any design process. This is what Garrett and I walked with. The mayor had established $350,000 for design of this. And so this is what we worked on. What would be the most realistic portion of how we can utilize that dollars to make this happen. And that's where we came up with this, but we have not started any of the public engagement process. This is, yesterday we met with the first taxing district and today we're meeting with you. We only responded to people who have called us, and many people had called us and said, look, we want to do something. I think they heard new people are in town, and they picked up the phone and they called. So nothing is planned. right? So this is just where we're going to be, what we think we can get done. So what happens in those spaces are really going to be coming out of the conversations that we have, and we'll certainly continue to have some conversations with you. I don't want you to think that in any case, like we showed you what could be, because we think that it's important to start showing, what could be. I think that, Garrett and I have, a significant history in creating safe, usable, friendly, streets. And we gave some point for us to jump off from, but it doesn't necessarily mean, that's where we're going to be. Where we're going to be is one that's safe and that has the community involved. So we'll do those. And I think that the purpose of this is to really create opportunities for everybody, including the library, to really succeed. So we're not going to do anything that's going to be detrimental to anyone. Hopefully what we're going to do at the end of the day is create these opportunities that everybody, thrives and flourishes in this. And I think that, what I'd really love to do, I think the library is super important. And I think that I'd love to see how us have a better connection to the Yankee Doodle Garage, right? That's a little bit more friendly for people to use, and other options, and one that, the street should be able to, people feel safe to cross the street. It's not really comfortable to cross today from a pedestrian perspective. So just rest assured, sir, that no decisions have been made. The conversations will continue. This is just starting it today. But we will listen to all the concerns, and we'll make sure that the final design is going to be signed off by everyone and in the best interest of it.
Thank you. And as I said, it looks very good.
Yes,
Yeah,
and if I could add to that, just so we hope to have a contract within the next 2 weeks. But in addition to those 4 public meetings and those 4 public gatherings, the consultant and the charrette team leader will also be reaching out individually to stakeholders, including yourselves as well. So you'll be able to have a candid conversation with them as well.
Thank you.
Alex,
Patsy?
yes, Jim and Garrett, I don't know how much you know about my involvement with the city, but I've been involved with street safety and sidewalks for some 50 years. And my husband was the recent past chairman of the parking authority before you guys came on board. I'd like to see the first slide. There's one location that I want to ask about. And then as a matter of, not the first one.
This one?
No, it's the next one, not the exist. Yeah, right about where the arrow is, just below that, there's a car. And I can't figure out what that, below the arrow, below your arrow, not the cursor that you're moving, the white arrow. You
I don't see a white arrow. I think the arrow might be on your, I think it might be your.
Okay.
Yeah, it might
Alright,
be your pointer.
So I'm not touching anything, but anyway, on West Avenue, there's a black vehicle.
Yep.
And right to the right, there's a white vehicle or something. And what's that about?
So there's a driveway that's there today that we just wanted to account for.
And it's existing.
It's an existing
Mhm.
driveway that you'll see it as it goes further in between the 2 buildings. That's an
Yeah.
existing driveway that we have an obligation to provide that access.
Okay. All right. So as a matter of fact, I was present at your presentation this fall, right at that, pretty much at that location.
Yep.
And I thought the library had been invited to that. I attended and I was disappointed that more people from the library weren't there, but I'm glad to hear now we're going to, have some further meetings with you. One of the things that I've worked on for years and tried to promote is a more direct connection to the Yankee Doodle Garage rather than the street connection, to create some kind of a pedestrian walkway through one of the buildings or whatever, which would, I think, make a huge difference to the use of the Yankee Doodle Garage. And I know people have talked about it, and I'm sure you're aware of it, but I think it's something that needs to really be pursued vigorously.
So we agree with you, right? So I should note too, so we agree that, and we're looking at a couple of different avenues of how that could occur, but we think it's critical to get a better connection to Wall Street. And so we're going to be looking at how that could happen. But additionally, we are also engaging the board for the parking authority to look at betterments for the Yankee Doodle garage, what we could do to modernize it a little bit, make it, because we also heard from people like they don't like to use a Yankee Doodle garage. Like it's just, it's dark. It's, there's a number of different factors that just make it look old and outdated and not safe. So we've engaged with another firm, THA, to start a process of showing what it could be, and then what that would cost the parking authority to put some improvements to that facility. But we want the facility to be improved at the same time that we create that better access. We want it all to just shine. So your comments regarding access to the Yankee Doodle garage are exactly where what we think we have it, and we've heard those from other people as well. And we recognize the garage is only going to be great if we have better access to it. And we want that as well.
Well, I happen to have been on the council when it was built, believe it or not, in 1971. And it was called the White Elephant then. So it's been a discussion in Norwalk for 50 plus years. And yeah.
So I guess when we built
We
it,
need
we
to
didn't
move
think we
on.
looked like it.
We need to move on.
Okay, all right, we will.
Okay.
Any other questions from anyone? And thank you, Patsy, for the word.
You're welcome.
All right, so listen, I want to make sure that you guys have opportunity to go. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Jim, and your colleagues, and we'll be back in touch. And this has been a really enlightening presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And if there's any questions from anyone, just give me a holler. All right, so thank you. Enjoy your meeting and get on with your night. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Cheryl, I
Bye-bye.
believe it says you're host, so I think I can
I
exit.
reclaimed host.
Okay, perfect timing.
Welcome.
Thank you guys for
Welcome to
your
Norwalk.
patience. Have a good
Thank
night.
you very much. Excited.
Bye,
to
thank you,
Bye.
work
sir.
with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our second presentation concerns the modernization project for the Sonar branch. And we have some presentations from the excellent architectural firm of Silver Petrocelli. And maybe Cheryl could introduce our guests.
Sure. Kimberly and Amanda, I want to thank you guys first for your patience and for your willingness to come out tonight. Kimberly and Amanda are the people that we worked with to get the design. They did the walkthrough, listened very intently, and I'm very pleased with what they came up with. And so now we just need to talk budget. And I don't know if you have the designs or if you want to just talk budget.
I think it's probably good to at least bring up the imagery so that you can see what we've been talking about. Cheryl pretty much hit it right on the head. I attended the walkthrough when you originally put out the RFP, so I had a good understanding of what you were looking for at that point. But Kim and I then met after the award, and we really got a chance to walk the library, hear how it's used, hear the likes and dislikes. And Kim, as the lead designer, has pulled together a floor plan and some imagery, some 3D renderings of what the proposed space will look like. And then we also have a breakout of the budget that was provided to kind of give you a sense of what we can include in what we're calling a phase 1 project, which is truly the must-haves of the project. And then we have a phase 2 that encompasses those items that we couldn't necessarily afford within the budget of phase 1, but it also looks at the overall master plan of the entire first floor. So the phase 1 is just those front rooms. It's the reading area and the computer lounge and sort of that little vestibule or anti-space in between. And then phase 2 is going beyond those walls and really capture everything on the first floor. So Kim, I don't know if you have the ability to pull up the plan and maybe
Should
just
I
give them.
give Kim host? Hold on.
Yes, please.
I think I might have it. Let's see.
All set.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So she's the mastermind behind the design. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take the wheel, and I'll jump in if I have any additions.
Okay. Perfect. So we're looking at pretty much the overall finished palette. The This is showing the computer lab, the reading area, and that entry in between. But this is going to be sort of the plan for the rest of the library in terms of colors. So here we have a rendering. This is looking from sort of that entry area, looking into the reading. Basically, most of the work would be to refinish some of the woodwork. Right now, it's very on the darker side. Replacing the carpet. New furniture to kind of assist with COVID concerns and kind of provide some soft seating. New lighting to brighten up the space and kind of modernize it. And overall, this is just the color palette, just kind of pulling from that coastal Norwalk vibe.
And to give you a sense of perspective, where you're standing, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but to the left where you're seeing the magazines on the wall, that's the entryway in. Straight ahead is that reading. And if you were to go to the right, now you're heading towards the circulation desk. So really what we're looking at is not really any high impact type maintenance or construction. We're truly just looking at flooring replacement. The woodwork is beautiful. We discussed whether or not it was appropriate to paint it or if we should refinish it and just brighten it up. And I think between the renderings we showed, the refresh really was the way that gave it a completely different look without really touching and destroying the history of it. And I think
we're looking toward, are we looking toward Washington Boulevard?
I don't know my streets, to be honest with you.
Correct. Yep,
So
that's Washington.
So if you
right?
look,
Okay.
yeah, if you look straight ahead, I think that's the post office.
Yeah,
So those windows, that's the post office, and then to the left would be Washington Street. Yeah.
correct.
I'm gonna zoom into this plan over here.
Right. So where it says computer area in the plan, imagine your back is to that bay window and you're looking straight through to that reading area was what that perspective was looking at.
Washington
Hey.
Boulevard is just adjacent to that foyer.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
It looks like there's a faux fireplace somewhere, not in this one with the previous.
There is an existing fireplace
Yeah,
that we're
and-
looking to refinish.
Okay, and is it gas or electric? Is it working or is it faux?
Right now, it's not working.
Yeah, it is a real fireplace, but we are not
Yeah.
intending to repair it to make it operational.
Yeah, it would just be refinishing of the woodwork around the fireplace.
So this looks really interesting in terms of post-COVID furniture. Was that the kind of approach to it?
It is. Some of it is the post-COVID trying to give you those barriers around you, but it's also about how do you have privacy in a large open space? And by having the higher backs, you still have the ability to focus, but you don't feel as though you're enclosed and you don't get the feeling that somebody could come up behind you without knowing that they're there. So it's a nice blend of the two. It's trying to accommodate the COVID concerns without looking like all we're doing is putting up plexiglass panels.
Mhm.
And, a concern that we've had in the discussions about the Belden Avenue construction project before that got kind of put on the back burner. And this happened before, obviously, the Sonar branch restoration from 15 years ago is, the question of the availability of electrical outlets and plugs for people who wander around and want to plug in their phone or plug in their computer and stuff. I know you can't see it on a drawing of this scale, but is that being taken into account?
Yes. So we did walk through and in each of the bay windows, we're looking to add some countertops so that that's a space that people could bring their own device and providing them power access to Wi-Fi from those locations. And then I believe we were also looking to do some additional power on the perimeter where we noted that there might be fixed carrels or other furnishings.
Great.
And that's in phase one?
Correct. So essentially this front plan that you're seeing, that is phase one, with the exception of what's labeled as foyer 201. We're truly talking about 202, 203, and 214. Those are our phase one spaces.
And
Is it
can I ask
antici-
a question
Sure.
about the chairs and the furniture? Is that all movable? Like if for
Mhm.
example, we wanted an big open space for one post-COVID event that happens, one of those spaces is that?
So Moina, I can answer that. Basically, that's what the repurposing project is, because we have heavy furniture now. So if we, you know, somebody wants to have a meeting or a program with like 20 people, it's, you know, the furniture is really heavy. So this furniture, the whole project is to be able to move the furniture out of the room quickly and, you know, to be able to repurpose the rooms.
Cool. Okay.
Hi again, this is Alex. We've had a discussion again at the main branch, and it seems certainly relevant here from a project that we saw in Westport with their modernization of going to a laptop kiosk as a way to organize the computers. What is your understanding of the computer area in terms of the actual computers themselves? Would it be laptops from a kiosk that get moved around? Would it be any desktops? Have you given some thought to that issue?
So I'm not sure how to answer that entirely.
I can answer it for you. So when I met with them, we took into account, you know, pre-COVID, the desktop use was going down and people were bringing in their own computers. COVID, you know, after COVID, more people were using the computers. So we kept, I believe, 8 desktops. And prior to working with Kimberly and Amanda, we were thinking of having those bay windows for people who want to bring their own devices. And so they can look outside. They would also have the countertop. We would have electrical outlets for them to plug in, you know, their phones and their devices, and then have something they call it, I think it's resin, something you said. I was thinking of glass dividers, so people have a semblance of, you know, their own space, although they're together. But there will be dividers, so if someone sneezes, you know, it's not going on to the next person, and people don't have to worry about breathing, you know, on each other. So so there will be 3. So each of the bay windows, there's one on the driveway side and then one facing the post office, or I'm sorry, a set of 3 facing the post office and a set of 3 facing the driveway. Those would each have little bars where someone can sit. So we'd have 3 spaces for someone to bring their own devices.
Sherelle, are we anticipating having a kiosk?
We are having a kiosk. We did order the kiosk.
Okay, so that would be usable in this setting as well.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. And we also have in the periodical 214, you'll see that there's 4 lounge chairs on that exterior wall that have tablets, so that if somebody wanted to sit there with a Chromebook, they do have a surface that they could put that on there, and they're on the perimeter with access to power. So we're not only giving them the countertop in a more traditional type seating, the carrel, but we're also giving them some soft seating if they prefer to sit in a more relaxed situation. All right, so I don't know if you want to zoom out a little bit. So now this is an image as if you're standing in that computer lab. You can kind of get a sense, it's a little difficult to see the decorative resin panels that we're putting between the stations. So essentially just trying to put something, again, just a little bit nicer than the plexi. It's more decorative. So it looks like it's supposed to be there, not an afterthought.
I'm sort of interested in seeing that the carols are dark. You're lightening up the columns, the original. So the contrast is strong. Is it dark?
And we can
Even
play
lighter?
around with that. This is obviously our first pass at it. And what we want to make sure is that everybody likes what we're doing. So if you feel that you want lighter carols, we can certainly lighten those up and get a lighter feel in there.
It seems dark to me.
Okay. The nice part is we're still at early conceptual phase, so nothing has been ordered. So we're good. So
I'm
Kim, just
interested, what does other people think about that?
I agree. I'd love to see other.
Later?
Yes, I agree. After looking at this, yeah, it does seem a little dark. I agree. It could be a little lighter.
Yes,
Okay.
I do too. I agree. A little bit lighter.
And then, we're showing some generic art up above the computers for now, but that's an opportunity for us to put some rails so that you can do your own local public art work up on there. And I think we were doing that the same in the other spaces as well. What else am I forgetting? I think that's predominantly it for the phase one. Does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, apart from the financing, what's the timetable? Not the actual start date, but once you start, what's the timetable do you anticipate to complete the phase one?
Sure. So right now, presuming that we get sign off after this meeting, not only on the design, but the budget, it would take us probably about a month to get those drawings completed. Then you have to get into your bid phase. So taking those drawings and soliciting for a contractor. Typically, it's a relatively small project, but people are busy. I would say you want to give yourself about a 3-week bid period. 4-week would be ideal. It usually takes about a week to then vet the bids that come in, make sure that we're getting everything covered that we asked for, getting contracts in order. And then depending on the contractor's availability, being able to mobilize, I would say within a month of that, truly getting the permits ordered and mobilizing a construction team.
I have a question about the use of fabrics. So I see some of the yellow, it's like a partition, and I have kids and they run wherever they walk, they run their hands. And I'm just curious about what type of fabrics you're including and their washability or cleanability.
Sure. Did you have specific fabrics that you were looking at, Kim?
We were looking at a Krypton type fabric, bleach cleanable. Yep. Something that you can easy to clean essentially.
Right. So the other thing to kind of throw into the mix here is that all of the furniture that we're going to be specifying is commercial grade furniture. And they will come with fabrics that are commercial grade. So minimally we look for, they call it double rubs. 100,000 double rubs is usually what we like to start with, and then higher. And then the Kryptons has a treatment to it that, as Kim mentioned, makes it bleach cleanable. Now, there are other things that we can do. We can always put in what's called a Gore Backing. It adds about $3 to $5 a square yard. And what that does is it gives a moisture barrier between the fabrics and the cushion below. Some people like that because you never know who's going to be on your furniture. The other thing to consider is if you're turned off by the solid yellow, solids tend to show a little bit more wear and tear more easily. We can go with something that has a little more texture so that while it may get the fingers on it, it won't show quite as readily, but it will still be as easily cleanable.
I have also a question on the actual construction time and what will happen, Sherelle, at the library. That area will have to be totally closed off, or what happens functionally?
I guess depending on the phases, but I'm assuming once they put the rugs down and do the painting, that we would have to close the library, close those areas.
Right. And it all kind of comes down to how you want to put the bid package out.
Yeah.
If you want it done the absolute fastest, the best way to do that is to section off that part of the library and get it done as quickly as possible. If you want to try and do it in phases, then we would look at cordoning off, for example, cordoning off the computer area, doing that scope of work. Then the team has to then get it up and ready, mobilize. Now you have to shift, go to the other side. They would do demo, construction. Again, now you have to shut down both parts because that vestibule in the center is your access to both. So you might want to consider putting that on with one of the other phases. Everybody prefers, and it would be less expensive if you do all of the carpet demo in one fell swoop. That means you're only holding on to the dumpster for a shorter duration versus having to hold it over potentially 2 to 3 different phases. There is also after hours work. If you want to pay premium time, you can stipulate that maybe contractors are allowed to come on site starting at 4 o'clock. Probably takes them about an hour to mobilize anyway. So really loud stuff wouldn't start happening till 5. But what that means is you're paying premium overtime for your contractors. And you also have to have somebody in the library supervising them during that shift. So you have to weigh the costs of doing that work and getting it back up and running the next day so that you could function, and then shutting it back down again at night. It can be burdensome, not only on the staff, but also on your patrons.
I would think that before you go out to bid, we have to make a decision about how this is all going to work. And if you close the whole area down and it is one job rather than, in chunks, how much time do you think that would take?
If I were to guess, and
Roughly.
truly, yeah, roughly, I would say, demo is quick. So that's probably done within a day or 2. Getting the carpet back in, cleaning up the slab, getting the electrical run. In theory, I would think that this is probably a few weeks worth of work. What's going to potentially slow you down is long lead time items and just the supply chain at this point.
What about stripping the woodwork?
Stripping the woodwork is time consuming, and it's detailed, and it can be smelly, depending on whether or not they're sanding or if they're using chemicals. That you're really probably going to not want people around, and you're going to want your periodicals and such to be protected. So that amount of detail work is probably easy 2 weeks, but that can be working in conjunction with other people at the same time. So while I give it that sort of rough duration, I want you to understand that multiple trades could be potentially working on top of each other. That's really where your general contractor or your construction manager will come in and schedule them appropriately. If the library has certain times that's easier or better for them to be shut down, that's how we would probably want to approach the bidding process. So I'm just going to talk for examples. Maybe summer is your least popular time frame, and I'm sure that's not true. But if that's when you have the least amount of patrons in there, then we would want to target your start and stop time to be on your non-peak hours. We would want to let your patrons know in advance of, does it make sense for us to shut something down for an entire day? How long will you be offline for? Making temporary accommodations for anything being housed over in that area within the rest of the library. So whether that moves upstairs into that big multi-purpose room, yes, that accommodates your needs for everything in that space while you're doing construction, but it obviously takes the use of that room offline for that duration as well. So those are all things that as we get into the next phase, the DD and the CD level phase of this project, we're going to want to bake into our bid documents the timing that the library is most flexible for that work to occur.
Does your contract include this concept of you instructing us on multiple ways of shutting down for
Yes.
the work? Okay.
Yes.
So we can expect that you're going to give us a couple of options.
Oh, absolutely. And, part of what we'll include in our documents that goes out to the contractors is your schedule, your daily schedule and what your hours are, what major events you might already have on your books that you're trying to target completion date, or maybe you don't want to start until after those major events that are already scheduled. Those are all things that we have to consider before the project goes out, because the last thing we want is to then have them come back and say, oh, but you can't have that. And now they're telling us we're delaying. So we want to give them as much information upfront about what they can and cannot do for the construction.
Well, look, this is all very impressive. Thank you. I want to say, though, that, in Norwalk, the city manages construction, the library doesn't. And we used to have a facilities construction commission where the library would be represented. That was abolished by the city council last year, unfortunately. So I don't know to what extent, Sherelle, you have consulted with Alan Lowe and the city building department about how to coordinate these questions going forward.
So Neil, was part of a conversation in the beginning, walkthrough and a follow-up conversation. So he's also advising us, and he would be helping us oversee the project.
Well, I think we need to schedule a meeting with Alan and whoever else the city wants to have so that we can make sure everybody's on the same page. I don't question whether we are or not, but it's the city that manages these projects, determines the bid packages and so on. Also, I don't know to what extent we've consulted with the second taxing district, because the city does not own this building. The second taxing district does.
Right. So David was, who's the chair, was part of the selection committee. So he's been, a part of this from the very beginning.
Good. Well, there have to be, some legal, hoops completed with the district, of course, for us to do this. As I recall, there was when we did the renovation back in the early 2000s. So, I would think the next thing is to try to coordinate a meeting with Silver Petrocelli, us, and Alan Lowe, and start talking, about these kinds of decisions.
Sure.
And I have a question, Amanda, after, what, do you stay involved through the construction process until the very end of the project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So just to give you sort of a 30,000-foot view, the way the process works. So right now we're in what's called schematics. So that's where we start to give you the general ideas. We're showing you the design and where it could go. Once it's approved, it then goes into, could be one of two different things. It could go into design development, which is more developed, but it's not full construction documents, or it goes into CDs where we produce the drawings that the contractor will build from. Once that's complete, we have a bid phase, and that's essentially where we work with the city as well as the library to put the documents out on the street and solicit contractors. We will go through and we will review the bids with you, and we will make recommendations for an award. And then once that award is made, we then go into what's called construction administration. And that's where someone from our team will then meet on a regular basis with the contractor to make sure that they're submitting all of the materials that we've specified, that they're approved. They're going to keep a schedule with us. We're going to maintain and sign off on all of their payment applications. And then as the project is wrapping up, we're having progressive on-site meetings. We're giving them directives on things that need to change or be corrected. And then we go through a punch list phase where we mark everything that needs to be complete before we give a sign off for project completion and essentially turn the building over to the city.
Was your fee for construction management part of your bid?
If it was, yes.
Thanks, that was helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you may
Alice,
choose.
I just wanted to let you know that the second taxing district were already in discussions of scheduling a meeting with Sorrel in regards to the whole design and ownership of the building. So those discussions are happening among us. So the second taxing district is very much aware of the project.
Good. Yeah, very good.
Okay. Any other questions on sort of the design aspect at this point? Okay. Do you also have the budget available, Kim? So while she's pulling that up, during the RFP process, I believe the budget was in the ballpark of about $60,000. Now that was for not only the construction costs, but what we refer to as soft costs. So that's our fees in order to produce the documentation. So what we've done with Sherelle over the last couple of months is we now took those pretty pictures and we broke them down into an actual budget so that you could see what the projected costs are. So I don't know if do you have that up, Kim? There we go.
She had it up. Yeah, there it is.
There we go. Okay. And I know, Sherelle, you had a little bit of a hand in how the phases were broken out. So if I misstep anywhere, please feel free to kind of jump in and correct me
Sure.
where I'm off.
Sure.
So what it looks like is you have two different funds that you're pulling money from. So the repurposing funds and then the painting funds for a grand total of the $67,014. So it's slightly over budget, but again, these are estimates. The phase one, which you see is designer fees. So those were our A&E fees that were approved when we solicited the project. And then we break it out into individual items. So the cost to refinish all the woodwork within those 3 spaces is approximately $26,000. I won't go through each one of them, but the restoration of some of the moldings that are in there, the original plaster moldings need repair. Our carpet replacement, painting both of the rooms as well as the ceilings. We did put in a number for replacement of the window shades. That is something that you could consider an alternate if you find that funds are running short. The ones that are there are still functional, but there is the desire to change them out. There's some wood base that needs to be repaired and replaced, as well as adding those art display rails. Phase two, which really gets into where we move all the furniture into. So we found from our quick estimating based on what the numbers we're seeing, the fit and finish of the space really was what your budget was. The furnishings itself, the numbers were just at a point where we couldn't get it into that 60,000. So we broke that out into phase two, and Sherelle is in the process of trying to get ARPA funding to cover that. So that would be for the computer room, reading room, as well as the vestibule. And in addition to that ARPA funding, all of the lighting is also being covered under a separate fund. So
We're hoping, we're not sure yet.
Crossing our
It's gonna be-
fingers.
Yeah, it's actually on SNOO's agenda for their meeting next week.
Yes, it
Gotcha.
is.
So
Yes,
we
it is.
have obviously what's related just to phase one, which is that $30,000. And then the phase two, which then again goes back into that circulation and main stack area. And then the rest of phase two just gets into revamping the circulation desk so that it's accessible, so that there's better cable management, that there's more storage. Meetings will have to happen to talk over the exact details of that, but we have some costs associated with that, as well as putting some additional lounge pieces in the teen area. We're looking at purchasing a new reference desk that will sit right between the circulation in those 3 front rooms. We have the slat panels that we're talking about adding on to the ends of the existing stacks. And then just some, again, general painting, carpet rework, some signage. The chalk wall that exists there now needs a little bit of touch up, and then putting in some monitors. So we've got a bunch of numbers in there, and then we've got the electrical for doing all of those duplexes and receptacles. In the yellow down below are some of the costs that most people don't really think about, but we have to add those in. General conditions, so that's essentially what the contractor needs for his operating expenses. On most projects that are large, they have a job trailer outside. It's everything they need to operate on a daily basis. I don't anticipate a job trailer for you guys, but we do still have some operating expenses that we need to take into account. Construction contingencies, those are really just the contractor's unforeseen. We have not done any opening of the walls to make sure that what we're doing, there's nothing behind there that would stop us from doing work. So that just, it puts a small budget piece in there for that if we do find something, we have funds allotted for it versus it becoming a change order. And then design contingency, it's basically the same thing. The further we get into the construction documents, that design contingency ultimately goes away, but it comes back as the owner's contingency. And that basically says that if that, right now we have about $8,000 in there, the owner may choose to add some things in if we find that the budget is going well and staying on course or even better than anticipated. The owner may choose to add some things in that maybe we didn't think we could fit in the original budget. And then just general requirements. So that's your permits, your fees, your dumpster rentals, insurance, those sorts of things. They all add on to the overall budget. So that's kind of where we're projecting right now. And I think your phase two.
Do you have a bottom line for all this?
So I believe and Kim, you correct me if I'm wrong on this. The first phase is the 67 or 65,000. And then the phase two is an additional 432,000.
And that includes the yellow items?
Correct.
And the possibility of the lighting, or at least, you know, a portion of it being covered by SNU, and the possibility of the furniture being covered with the ARPA funding that the city has received.
Correct. So essentially speaking, in terms of how we're going to approach at least the phase one, everything that you see listed under there will be included in the base bid documents. We always have the opportunity, if there's something that, I always say, put your must-haves as your base bid. And if there are items that are nice to have, but maybe not necessarily something that you absolutely need to function, I would take those items and put them under an add alternate. And the reason I say that is that an add alternate is always more cost effective than a deduct. So if at some point the budgets come in, oh, you know, we're over budget, let's take out the shades. You're going to get pennies on the dollar for taking the shades out. Where if it was something that was additive, you know the value, that's 100% value, that if you choose not to enact it, you're getting 100% of that savings. So as we're going through, we're going to just kind of monitor what the market is doing. And if we feel like anything in there needs to become an add-on just to kind of protect the budget, we'll start to make recommendations at that point. Right now, we feel pretty comfortable, but you know, the supply chain is doing weird things and normal costs are becoming escalated costs. So that's something that we're going to monitor very closely.
What's the
Sorry.
projected start date for this?
I don't believe we have a projected start date unless the library has a target that they're wishing for.
Right,
Well,
we're, so if we were thinking of the times that it's slowest, usually May is a pretty slow month for us.
Well, we're going to really need to consult with the city
Mhm.
about this because, you know, we're not going to start a project unless we know we have the funds.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure I may have had conversations with somebody about the ARPA funding. I'm not quite sure what they are or where that stands. And I'm not sure whether Alan Lowe and the building department have reviewed this list or not. But I mean, the idea of this starting in May, I think, is rather unrealistic.
Even from a timing perspective of where we are right now in the drawing process, it would have to be a really big push for construction to be starting in May. The question would be, you know, if May truly is an ideal timeframe, do we want to look at May of 2023? However, I don't know how your funding, your grant funding might tie into certain dates. So while May not be a target for us now, it may end up, if you truly want to go in 22, we have to look closer towards the end of the summer, the fall, so that we can get everything in alignment.
Well, that's the kind of thing we need to get clear with the city.
Correct.
Because even with the ARPA funding, I don't know what the city's plan is about that, but obviously most of phase two is not even approved yet in the capital budget.
It's
Looks like
not.
So I think this is really helpful to get us to have a really, good coordination and consultation with the city. And it seems to me that's our next step, even if SNU goes forward with its discussions about lighting and approval for the legal issues involved in the renovation.
Mhm.
Can you circulate these charts?
I'm sorry?
Can you circulate these charts that we looked at tonight?
I did. They're in the packet. I sent them
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I've seen them.
yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have one more quick question, and I probably
Sure.
should have brought this up before. Regarding the art areas, I really didn't see how much square footage that was, but do those art display rails, do they have lighting, or is there a track lighting or some sort of lighting that would light it up since we're spending so much money? I'm just curious if that was considered.
Right now, we do not have specific art lighting. All we have is the general lighting for the space.
So when we go, to Sharon's point, so when we, begin to delve in further, is that something that we can consider?
Absolutely. Part of what we want to do through these early phases and having you look at it is we like to hear that sort of feedback of,
Mhm,
we really should have individual lighting. So the rails themselves, the way we're looking at them, they're very unobtrusive. Hopefully they kind of just disappear when they're not in use, assuming that there ever is a time they're not in use.
Right.
But we want to look at whatever lighting we do provide, that it be
Mhm.
flexible enough to move with the number of pieces that might go up there. One
Up
day it
there.
could be 10, the next day it could be 3.
Correct.
So we just want to make sure we don't do something that locks us in. So probably a track piece that has flexible heads
Mhm.
might be the most beneficial.
Yeah, when we had the discussion, when I mentioned that we had those before, that's pretty much what we had. But Neil and David both have a great eye for lighting, so. Yeah.
Okay,
All
so
right,
that's definitely something we can add.
Pardon?
That's something we can certainly add into this so that we can make sure it's accounted for.
Okay. And then, it may be that the lighting that you have, that you've come up with may be enough, so it would be worth the discussion.
Yeah, what I'd like to do now that we're really hearing that that's an important feature, we can look at how the light spreads from those fixtures. It may be
Mhm.
enough that it captures it.
Right.
But depending on how far down from the ceiling they come and how the light throws, we might hit a piece right in the middle. So I just want to see what that looks like. And then if they recommend putting some additional lighting in, we can.
Okay.
And if there's anything else as you are looking through these early schematic packages that you're not sure if we've included it, or you can definitely see that maybe we didn't put something in there, definitely let us know, because we want to make sure in the end that we're turning something over that's truly useful and meaningful and functional for the library.
I do just want to point out one thing on page 2. Not quite to the middle, but Mary, I do want you to see your built-in display case.
Yes.
It's been how many years?
Of
So
course.
it's there.
I absolutely noticed it, Sherelle, when I was reviewing the documents, to make positively sure that it was in there. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Kimberly and Amanda for their quick work.
Yeah, so essentially what we'll do, the nice part about, again, this being in design phases is we will kind of sit back, let you all digest what we've shown you, come back to us with questions and challenges. And then if there's meetings that need to happen with Alan or anyone else with the city, we are more than happy to participate in those. And ultimately, if we need to, we can take a pause until we're sure that funding is in place. And then when everything is good, we'll get the word from you and go on to that next phase.
Perfect.
Well, thank you. I think the design looks very, very attractive, and I think you've done a really excellent job with that.
Mhm.
It's all Kim. She did a good job.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
And thank you both for being here, and thank you so much for your patience tonight.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you want us to stay on or shall we?
No, you
shall
don't
we
need,
head
you
out?
don't need to. We
All right,
haven't, thank you. We haven't listed this item as an action item, so we're not able to take action tonight. As I say, we have a lot of consultation to do as a next step. So thank you.
Very good.
Certainly. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Have a
Thank
good
you
one.
so much. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Okay, well, it's 8:30.
Oh, yeah.
Still have a fair amount of business to do. So let's do what we can. Any public comment from anybody, a member of the public? Seeing none, we'll go to item number 5. It's mislisted as approval of the minutes of October. It's approval of the
Oh,
minutes
sorry.
of November 17th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Patsy approves, moves. Is there a second, everybody? Thank you, Mary. Any revisions? All right, if not, then all in favor of the minutes as submitted, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Any abstentions, any objections? Thank you, that the minutes as submitted are approved. Next, go to President's Report. First item would be the fiscal year 22-23 operating budget. Sherelle, would you like to go over any highlights of the budget?
Sure. It wasn't a big ask this year. We tried to stay within the city's parameters. So the major ask was for line item 5255, and that is for their IT to upgrade the Wi-Fi, Adobe Cloud licenses, and the Wi-Fi hotspots for the public to borrow. So the Adobe licenses, that will allow both staff and patrons to edit PDFs. Patrons come in and they need to edit documents that are in PDFs. And right now, what we have to do is use a conversion file or find a free conversion file, but this will allow both the staff and the public to be able to edit PDFs. Digital back office, our feeling is that, sorry to say, cable has a pretty antiquated system and we want to be able to have the speed and the bandwidth. So we're looking to go to digital back office and move away from the cable systems. And Verizon hotspot kits for the public to borrow. We were able to get on the city's package, so we were able to get it for a little bit less. So that's the basic. So that was roughly a $10,000 ask, but everything else was relatively low. So for our subscription and databases, we just had one ask, and that's for transparent languages online. And that was a recommendation by our children's librarian, Victoria Otis. And so we have other things. We have one other, I think it's Mango that we have. So we thought this would be a nice addition. Let's see. So some of the features, it says, unlike other language learning resources, this database allows patrons to learn all 4 of the core language skills, which is listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And it's won some awards, but that's the thing. Sometimes people learn the language, but they don't have it. They don't understand. They can't speak it conversationally. So this is supposed to be, really good for that. So I was very excited when Vicki brought this to our attention. And the only other thing was for these meetings, for the secretarial services, somehow it was taken out of the budget, but I just added it back in for the $1,500 per year.
So can I ask you 2 questions?
Sure.
Could you explain in item 5110, wages and salary? What accounts for the difference between our requested for this year and the revised for 22?
So basically, some of the positions that were cut obviously were, taken into consideration with that. And then there's the two positions, what was it? The branch manager position and an access services, which that one hasn't been finalized as yet, but an access services manager or coordinator.
Okay. And, as we discussed, unfortunately, we didn't have a meeting before the budget was submitted. I had asked you to include some Sunday hours, and you told me that it would be in 5120. And I don't see it. Maybe I'm,
Oh, you know what? I don't have the whole printout. Let me just see. With me. So the Sunday hours were not taken out, so they're still there. What happens is the Sunday hours come out of an overtime account.
okay,
So instead of having it come out of, the regular salaries and wages, it comes out of an overtime account. So it's a blend of, like, just say if our guys have to work overtime, and also if we have the Sunday hours. So they are still there.
okay. So for the 5110, the wages and salaries, we've added in branch manager and access, but I assume we've taken out assistant director.
Mhm. I'm hoping that's something that maybe as the, city's in
I
a
think-
better position, we might be able to ask for it later, but at present, yes.
All right, we're going to get to that later in the agenda. I'm just surprised that okay, I see. All righty. Thank you. So the Sunday hours are still in there, but as overtime.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's where they pull it from the budget, from the
Oh.
overtime budget.
okay, thank you.
Cheryl, what happens with the money that is not used in this current fiscal year for the South Norwalk director, that position not being filled?
It will be filled. It
No,
should be
I'm talking
filled.
about I'm not talking about next year's budget. I'm talking about this year's, but I'm asking about this year's budget.
So normally whatever happens, Patsy, if money is not used, it goes to the city.
Okay.
All right, any further questions about the operating budget?
I guess I just have a question in general. It'll also be with the capital budget, but just preparing in case we have COVID and it comes back. Are
Mhm.
we, like, our masks in here, like anything that you need that you feel like maybe wasn't provided from the city? Are we prepared for the next wave?
So they've been giving us those, I can't think of the name of them, but they're the stronger masks. We got some from the fire department, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get more, but no, it's not in there. We might be able to ask for it, out of the ARPA funds. But the staff seem to really like the heavy duty mask that we recently received. And then we do have masks that we got from the ARPA funds before. So we got quite a few. I think we may have, I think we had 4 or 5 boxes, and each of the boxes had probably about 30 boxes of maybe 50 masks inside. So so that's an option. We can either ask for it out of the ARPA funds or, see if the city is going to supply more. But I will tell you, they're hard to breathe in. Those things are really heavy duty. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm getting a permanent facial.
On the capital budget, the Norwalk digitalization, I thought we were done with that.
Nope, this is the last year.
Do we get to that next, Patsy?
Okay,
We'll just do
sure.
the operating budget now.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, it's all right. Any further questions about the operating budget? Then I think our motion would be to ratify the prior submission of the budget to the city. Would be a motion to do that?
I'll so move.
Thank you, Patsy. Any further discussion? Mary seconds, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Any objection? Any abstention? Then the budget is approved as submitted. Thank you, Sherelle.
Thank you.
Next item would be discussion of the capital budget.
I just have to run and grab it from the other room. I had to move.
Okay.
So give me 1 second.
How are people doing about time in terms of the foundation meeting tonight?
It's a stretch.
Janie, is there one particular item you want to pick out for us to act on as opposed to hearing the reports, given the late hour?
I don't have anything actionized in there. I mean, you can read the report. The only highlight I wanted to mention is the donations and the $8,500 we got from Morris Goodman, and also the $10,000 we got from Betsy. I forgot her last name, but the trust fund.
Right.
And one important item is I have purchased a lockbox safe in the interest of trying to separate.
Are we,
Yeah.
the
Okay,
minutes are gonna be muddled here.
No, yeah, I for the minute taker, I was just trying to fill up that time by
Oh,
taking
sorry.
into consideration people's scheduling. No, it's all right. I was just using up the time. So we'll get back to that at the end.
Okay, sorry about that. So our asks were minimal. So we did ask for a van for the guys. Our van is 15 years old. It's, starting to get to the point, well, it has been at the point actually of needing repairs. And the guys use the van for the daily runs between the branches, runs to our off-site collections, to the beach, train stations, tax office and other places, pick up, items, needed for the library, dump runs, etc. And so initially the ask was for $52,740. Today, so the city has the fleet department, we can get a discount with the state. And so this afternoon I received something that said the price would now be 40. If we went through the fleet department, the price would be $42,815. So roughly a $10,000 difference.
Great.
Yep. So the other, The other ask was technical services for the 6 max, 4 of which would be replacements for the main and 2 new ones. 2 would be new to Sonar. Poster printers for each library. And let's see, 3D printing. So 4 3D printers. Just what else? Sorry.
Those 3D printers tended to be obviously for both branches. Do you have a distribution of 3 and 1?
So it would be 2 and 2, 2 for the main and 2 for Sonar.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, and then that was pretty much it for that ask. And then the final installment of the 5-year digitization project, which it's huge. It will be totally finished, if it's approved. And then the Sonar, the continuation of the Sonar branch repurposing project. Which we just had the fantastic presentation
Mhm.
for.
I have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
Are we wedded to asking, projecting the 470 exactly, rather than, say, for instance, asking for 500,000, anticipating that there's going to be
The change.
escalation?
So actually, the price did come down from, we went through this like extensively the other day. So the price did come down from the 470, but if that's a recommendation, you can let me know.
Well, just my experience with construction, it's always more than what you initially anticipate. Then you have to go back for overruns, and then that's hard to get.
Mhm.
And these are estimates. They're not
Mhm.
bids.
Mhm.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be prudent. I don't know to what extent the ARPA stuff has been netted out, or whether that's assumed we still won't get it. I don't know how that
Yeah, I
is
don't know
calculated.
yet. Yeah. So I
Well, look,
can,
Patsy, if you want to move up to 500, I mean, even though we've already submitted this budget, it's fine with me.
no, it's not finalized. It was just, the initial was just sort of an internal thing, but it's nothing that's finalized or anything like that.
So it hasn't gone to the city yet then?
The discussion was internal, but there's nothing that's been done
Okay.
yet
Well,
at all.
to
Yeah, it
me,
was
it
just a
makes more
discussion.
sense. Yeah, to me, it makes more sense that, I mean, it's such a ridiculous amount, $470, $845. So anyway. And
Make it five- make it 501,000, right?
$499.99. You think you're selling
And
real
what is the
estate?
time frame for this budget? I'm sorry to be kind of rudimentary, but is it
This is what gets approved for spending as of July 1, 2022.
July 1, 22? So through the next July. Okay.
Yeah, the fiscal year is called the end of the fiscal year. So fiscal year 23 is the fiscal year 22-23 budget.
Okay, so my other question is, I know, years back, there was always the 5-year projection, and I'm seeing none other than this one item, for upgrades. And I think they've sort of changed that a little bit, Alex, or not, the 5-year projection process?
No, it's still in there. Our money is now in the Economic and Development Department in terms of the purchase of the bank lot and the construction money.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
but
you
I'm
want-
not talking about that. I'm talking about
Oh.
general, we're basically saying this for this grid of 5-year projection, that we have no other projection for the next 4 additional years other than $7,600.
Well, we used to. All that money used to be in our budget over the 5 years, and then it was moved. I'm saying,
No.
Betsy,
No, I'm not talking about the expansion of the library,
Okay.
Alex. I'm talking about general operating, would we need something else in the next 4 years for running the libraries? Another small project, or I'm trying to think of something specific, but like we did a few years ago, we had, I forgot what the amount was, a capital amount to fix the side doors. But the way this is postured, it looks like we're saying we don't anticipate needing any money for anything else capital other than the major, which is not in our budget, it's in somebody else's budget.
So
okay.
Neil normally takes care of the building projects. So like with the, so some of that, like with HVAC and things like that, that's in his budget. I know we tried to be pretty conservative, particularly with the main library, anticipating that we will have the renovation and expansion. There's certainly things that we need, but we're trying to be conservative in the event, not to waste money doing it now if we're going to have the renovation. And then, with what you said at the last meeting made sense, that we would try to get Sonar that hasn't been, upgraded in 15 years, get this up and running, and then concentrate majorly on the renovation and expansion of the main library.
I have a quick question. As far as preparing for the future, and if another COVID wave hits, I really see people needing to use their laptops outdoors on furniture that actually works, that's comfortable. Is this something that we want to think about now or in the future? Because if another wave comes, we're going to be back in that same spot where you're pulling out your plastic desks.
That's a really good point. You know what, let me talk to Lamont, because I know he was very interested in furniture, for the library, hygienic furniture. So, let me speak to him and see if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there, and I don't know.
No,
if you
that's
guys
a
could have
really good point.
heat lamps too. Like, how do you make it more functional? So if this happens again, you have a more ideal outdoor space.
Okay. Got it.
All right, any further discussion? If not, then I forget, have we had a motion that was out of the operating budget? Patsy and Mary, are you gonna move and second to this budget too?
Are we going with 500 or are we staying with 470?
Going 501, I thought we agreed on. 500,000.
Okay. And we're reducing the library van to 42,815.
815, yep.
With those two in mind, I'm happy to move the motion.
All right,
I second.
thank you, Janie. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstent? Sharon, are you opposed? I couldn't tell. Sharon?
Yep, I'm opposed. I would like to see some outdoor stuff. Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have figures tonight, so we can always address that down the road a little bit. Any abstentions? So the budget is approved with Sharon opposed.
While we're on the
Next-
capital budget though, Alex, you sent out a memo to us saying that you were excluded from this meeting. Do you have an explanation for that?
No, this is the first time it's ever happened, and have been included in all the other meetings like that.
There's
I thought it was
another one
important.
coming
I
up.
thought it was
I just,
important because the board hadn't met to discuss and approve the budget. And under the city code, it's the board that submits the budget. And therefore I thought it was important to be part of that discussion. And that's why I had requested it.
All right, so I'm just confused, and I think at this point, we really need to have some instruction from the city for exactly what our role is and what we are allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do, what the city is doing and what we're supposed to be doing. It's very muddled and confusing. And I don't think it's constructive for the library. And so I think we should ask the city to have someone come who's appropriate, a lawyer or one of the personnel people or something to instruct the board exactly what our charge is as directors of the library.
Well, I heartily agree with that. And I'm going to bring that up on one of the next items as well in terms of
Oh,
approval of positions and so on.
oh, okay.
Okay, next item is 6C concerning the closing of the branch book drop at the branch library. Sherelle?
so actually both libraries are, we don't have enough storage space. But now that we have the drive up book drop, it would be nice to close off the building book drop, and then we can use it's minimal, but we can use that as storage space.
Well, we're talking tonight about the branch, right?
Correct.
Okay. You want to just describe what closing it means?
So the opening would be taken out and they would try to match the brick as closely as possible. It's a very small space, but try to match the brick, as close as possible and close it off. So that way people can't open, and because sometimes we don't really check it anymore, but sometimes people will say, oh, we dropped a book off, and we're like, we didn't, but we didn't see it. But then we'll think, you know what, let's go check that drop. So, so it would be nice to just close it off and just to have the storage space.
Can we have money in the budget to do that?
We do.
I think it
And-
makes sense because why would you have two drops? And that confuses people. So I think you should close it off if you have that one that's sitting right there and it's more accessible. Because I go there all the time and drop my books in. Just drive up and drop your books in rather than
Yeah.
having to get out the car and go do it. So
This
that's
item, I just wasn't aware, does this item have to get bid out or in terms of getting this quote, Sherelle?
Neil actually got the quote.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean,
And
it's
it's
a good
a
idea.
small
I just-
amount, so I don't think it needed to go out for a bid because it's such a small amount. But he
Okay.
did, talk to different people and gave me this as a recommendation.
Okay. Well, let's say, assuming it was done inappropriately, which we have no reason to doubt, would be a motion to approve this item.
motion to approve.
Okay, Janie approves. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
All right.
Any abstentions, any objections, then it's approved unanimously. Next item is D. In your packet, there's a list of meeting dates for the next year. This is a state requirement for the Freedom of Information Act, and had we met in December, that's when we normally would have approved it. So we're both approving and ratifying the submission of regular meeting dates for the library board of the second Thursday of each month.
So move.
Patsy moves. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And that's approved unanimously. Next item is item E, discussion of the branch manager job description. I have a number of comments about this, but I'll defer to Sherelle to make a presentation if she would like.
I don't have anything else to add other than what I submitted.
Okay. Well, a couple of items. First, I think this item falls directly into the item that Patsy raised in terms of the role of the board and its relationship to the city. I think all of us may recognize that because of the way the code is drafted, that the city has responsibility for personnel items. Yet nonetheless, there are areas where the jurisdiction of the city and the library board overlap, because some items that are largely personnel also involve the governance of the library. And I think as a matter of courtesy, the library board should have been consulted about this position. If you look at the minutes we approved tonight from November, it was very clear in those minutes that the job description had not been completed and was not submitted to the board in November. Yet at the board meeting, we asked to see it before it was approved. That did not happen. The job description was published on December 8th, and we were not notified until December 12th. I don't have any problem per se with the job description of branch manager. Just to be clear, my concern is the fact that we're replacing, at least temporarily, if not permanently, the position of assistant director with a branch manager. And therefore, there's no provision currently for who will become or who will act as the assistant director if our executive director, for some reason, is absent, either vacation or illness or personal leave or whatever. And that's of great concern to me. There used to be both an assistant director and a branch manager many years ago. And the branch manager position was not filled for budget reasons. I think the library was told you could have either one, and the decision was made to have an assistant director, which Sherelle used to be. So this position has been advertised. I intend to ask the city personnel department to hold off on filling the position for the reason that first, there is an undetermined future about the assistant director position. Second, if this position had been assistant director rather than branch manager to fill, we might have received different applications for people with different qualifications. This person will be the second highest paid position at the library. I don't know whether somebody who applies to be a branch manager is qualified to be an acting assistant director, but in the normal course of things, that's what would probably happen given a salary scale. And there are other people who might have applied who didn't, who would want to be assistant director, but not want to be a branch manager. I think for those reasons, I think the process of creating and filling this position was not done appropriately in terms of the role of the board. I have to say this position really wasn't recreated. It's basically the same position that existed prior to Sherelle being promoted to being assistant director, but it now leaves the assistant director position unfilled. I'm glad to hear Sherelle say during the operating budget discussion that there may be discussion of filling both in the future, which I hope does happen. But until that discussion is had, I don't think the city ought to go ahead and fill this position without further discussion. And I intend to express my personal view to the city. If others want to join, it'd be appropriate. But I'll be clear, I'm not representing the opinion of the board, just my personal decision. But again, in November, it was very clear. We asked that we be consulted before the position be filled. It was advertised on December 8th. We were not informed until December 12th. So the fact that this is after the fact is not really our fault. So those are my comments.
I think it's important to note that we didn't have a December meeting. We decided not to have a December meeting. So I think for the record, that is important to state. So that if we had had a December meeting, maybe we would have been able to discuss this then prior to everything moving forward.
Sure. It was advertised, Patsy, prior to our decision to cancel the December meeting. So it was advertised before that decision was made. And this
Well-
position had been under consideration for almost a full year. So waiting an extra month based on our November minutes would not have been problematic for the city.
Well, this again is just one of the reasons why I think we need a very clear, definitive explanation and education as to our specific roles as director of the library as we move forward.
And Patsy, I am in total agreement with you. I must say that I feel very strongly that we do need a manager at the branch library. I was a participant and have been when that decision was made to go to assistant library director. But as I watch the progress of what is happening at that branch, I'm just feeling very strongly that we need a manager. Plus the fact that I'm watching Sherelle running back and forth, and I don't think the branch is being sufficiently operated, and it's very important that they have a manager. So how we're going to resolve this issue, I agree with you, Patsy. Yes, we need to go to the city, deal with these personnel, issues of, what the management structure needs to look like. We have been advised for many years that we are not responsible for any of the hiring, on. And we went through that as we went through that transition of branch manager versus assistant director. We were once again advised the board does not have any rights or any responsibility regarding hiring. So to back up, yes, we need to, actually possibly have a discussion with the city.
Yeah.
Because
And of
I'm
course,
going to-
that experience was before I was on the board and several other
Yes.
people are on the board.
Yeah.
So that's again, reason why with the new people on the board, we need to know what our real role is. And so we can
Absolutely.
act accordingly. And it's confusing. It's a mongrel structure to begin with because of the merger back in the early 70s. So
Absolutely.
it's confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we ask for that edification for our
Yes.
next meeting,
Yes,
Alex?
yes, I will do so.
Okay, well, do you need a resolution or a motion?
I don't
that
think
we
so.
request?
No, I don't.
I'm happy to make one.
I don't,
So,
if you
okay,
want to find, I don't think we need one, but,
Okay.
and just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that the board make decisions about hiring, but the creation of positions is different than filling personnel applications. And it does affect, right now, assuming this position were filled, there is nobody who acts in Sherelle's absence. And that's unacceptable. And it's unacceptable to the other senior staff and to the operation of the library. Now, I don't know what the answer is. Maybe the answer is we fill both positions if the city allows it. Maybe the answer is somebody becomes acting director with appropriate, adjustments in job responsibilities and salaries. I don't know. All I know is that not having anyone available by designation to become the acting executive director when Sherelle is not available is not satisfactory.
What is the status right now? So it's open right now, or has it been closed, or what?
It's closed.
It's closed.
What do you mean it's closed?
So it was open for a certain amount of time.
The
I think
application?
yes.
Yeah, okay,
The closing date was January 8th, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw those dates, but then I was confused because I was like, oh, but anyway, so that's why it was on the position. So what are the next steps with that position?
They filter them and then they send them over.
So we've lost Alex now.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, looks like it.
Alex is
Looks
gone
like it.
away.
Lost them again.
Oh, wait, I think he's here. I'm sorry. Yep, hold on. Thank you for saying that.
I'm still gonna fight for that manager of the branch. Okay,
I told,
it's needed.
I think
Alex?
he's trying to unmute. Hold on. Oh, wait.
Moni, can you repeat your question? I lost my internet.
I was just asking what the next steps are, or, at this point, the job was open, it's closed now. And then Cheryl just, I guess she replied that they're going to send over resumes at this point.
Well, I'm going to ask that the city reconsider how to handle this other issue. And I've had conversation with a personnel director that if the library board makes a recommendation, the city has to decide how to handle it. So, look, everybody agrees, I think, with what Mary said, that the branch needs a manager. I don't think that's open to much doubt. The problem is that changing the structure from what it currently is to having a branch manager, but no assistant director, solves one problem, but creates another. And that's what I think is a problem here.
But Alex, you took a step above what I believe we've been talking about. We have not endorsed one thing or another. We asked for education to our role. And now I just thought I heard you say you were going to basically say that the board wants something different. And we haven't voted on
No,
that.
I'm not making, as I said, absolutely. I've been very clear. I'm going to express my personal feelings. And I said, it's not the opinion of the board.
Okay. Okay. Well, I would like to make a motion so that it's really in the record that we asked for a representative from the city to come and instruct us on our role as directors at our next meeting.
Okay. I'll second that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure I agree with the word instruct because there may be a difference of opinion. I think
Educate us to the role or whatever. If you like the word educate, I'm happy to change it.
I mean,
Well, I think
can I find our bylaws? Like, I mean, some of this should be in our bylaws, right?
it is in our bylaws.
Yeah, but Mona, that's just the point. They're in our bylaws, but have we absorbed those bylaws? Are we, looking at
Well, they're
them
also
every
in-
time we make a decision?
well, they're also in the city code, and I've
Exactly.
circulated that provision several times, and I'll do so again.
Yeah. But anyway, I made a motion and it's been seconded.
Okay, and from what I can recall, I believe our bylaws may have been looked at in maybe 2005, something of that nature. That was the last packet that I was able to locate. I don't think they've been updated since then.
No, they have not.
They haven't? Okay.
No, they
Yeah,
have not. I know that for a fact because I have them. No.
I mean, what I'll do is I'll circulate the city code provision that sets out what the responsibilities of the board are. And that's what we can have a discussion with the city about.
Thank you.
All right.
And I think regarding this position, I think that because there wasn't enough time to kind of, I mean, this distinction between branch manager and assistant director is something that I don't think we've kind of really talked about it as a group. And, you know, like I get, I mean, we like, it seems like we can't get someone in there fast enough. So that's why, like, on some level, like, we need to move this along. But and like, what are the different roles and responsibilities? Like, how much more how much more responsibility would an assistant director have versus a branch manager? And like, what are the real differences between those two positions? I guess I would be interested in knowing that.
So having filled both positions, having been an acting of sorts branch manager and being an assistant director, when you have a branch manager, that's somebody who can really monitor and supervise the branch and make sure that the neighborhood is taken care of. As the assistant, it's, you know, you're kind of running back and forth because you have duties at the main and you have duties at the branch. So just thinking about being in the role, actually having worked here physically in the day-to-day and not, you know, in the day-to-day, the branch manager position is definitely needed. If we can do both, yay. But I just think the branch, and it gets shortchanged unless somebody is totally stationed here, which is what a branch manager would do.
Okay, Alex, I made a motion. It's seconded. Would you please
Yes,
call
yes.
the motion?
Sure. All in favor of any further discussion of Patsy's motion?
All in favor?
And so you've changed the word instruct, you've changed the word
To
instruct to
educate.
educate. And
Yes.
Yes,
I thought we should have that person come in and discuss.
yes.
Yes.
At our next meeting.
Yes. All right. All in favor of inviting someone from the city to come and discuss the relationship of the board and the city? Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? I can't see on my phone. Is there anybody?
Everybody's in
Great.
favor.
Okay, good. Passes
Everybody's in
unanimously. Okay. Next is the discussion of the Access Services Coordinator.
So do you have the job description?
Yes, you circulated it.
Okay. So one of my thoughts is, you know, the city talks about equity, and prior to the person who recently retired and vacated the position initially was, you know, it was a high school. You had to have a high school diploma to be in the circulation and to be the head of circulation. Then they changed it to an MLS position. I didn't think it needed to be an MLS, but just thinking about the city's equity and inclusion initiative, it would be nice to have a position that where there's the requirement is a college degree, so that we go from high school to college to master's, as opposed to just high school to master's. So if there's somebody who's thinking about, you know, maybe they want to be a librarian, they're just not quite there yet, there's still somewhere for them to go and stay with us until, you know, they get to that point. And the access services person, the circulation is pretty much the face of the library. That's where people go for their triage, you know, to check in and check out, to get their direction, and to expand is, you know, to have offsite collections. We do have some now, but it would be great to have, you know, some collections in neighborhoods, maybe laundromats and other places. And in our last meeting, our children's librarian also thought that maybe we could have that person handle the booking of the pop-up truck as well.
Sherelle, I just want to ask a question. I heard you say that most of our jobs now at the library go directly from
So high school
to
diploma
masters.
to
Okay,
master's, correct?
so we're not leaving any room within the organization for people to be able to move up, or we're requiring all master's degrees for
So
most of
like,
our
just say if
jobs?
someone starts off in circulation, they can
Okay.
start off as a clerk. After their 2
Okay.
years of experience, they can then be a library assistant. But, there's really nowhere to go, like, for management. So people can have their degree, but there's really nowhere to go. It would be great. I would also love, but, in the future, hopefully, to be able to have, a public relations or an outreach person too. And that would, be someone who doesn't have to have a master's, but could have, their undergraduate degree.
Okay. Thank you.
Sherelle, are any of these duties under anybody else's current list of responsibilities at the library?
Not as well, the branch manager would report to me.
No,
and
no,
with
no, I'm
the
talking about
access
the,
services.
yes.
So we are still in discussions. It would be great to have that person also be on our cabinet, but I'm open. We're still deciding whether to be a coordinator or manager.
So I have a question on this. Does this go through the city personnel department
Mhm.
or? Okay,
Everything goes through them,
okay.
all positions.
And has it gone to them or is it under discussion or
So
How
under
are we
discussion, depending
how
on,
are we involved?
I'm sorry,
Not involved.
I missed something.
Well, this is part of the confusion of our role.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if personnel went ahead and advertised one job, are they in control of doing the same for this job? Or how do we?
Well, that's how it always is. If personnel, if they approve something that they advertise it.
Yeah, okay. But, so we recommend it?
Hmm.
I think maybe the best thing is your approach to have somebody come in.
Okay, Yeah.
Explain it, yeah. Yeah.
there's another example. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to ask a quick question. Janie, is Lori still coming to the other meeting? I don't know if you let her know that this meeting is
No,
still
she,
going.
no, she knows, but she
Okay.
is not able to make it because she said she thought it was next week. and so
Oh,
she's out
okay.
of town. She's actually out of town.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, she's putting on her schedule for next month meeting.
Oh, okay.
But
I
she
didn't
said,
know.
well, I'll tell you about that. I don't know when we're gonna have that.
Okay.
Even gonna,
No, that's fine. I just didn't want her waiting.
no, she's not waiting.
Okay.
Are we done with this item?
Yes.
Okay.
Next we move to G, discussion and action on the reopening. As you may recall, in November, we said that we would kind of keep the status quo and not expand the number of people who could come into the library for use of a room. And we would keep it at 25 at the main library, 15 at the Sonar branch. Obviously, since then, the new variant has taken over in a tsunami. So I guess one question would be, what have the requests been, Sherelle, in terms of outside groups wanting to book rooms in the last 2 weeks or so?
We've had some requests. The major thing has been the tax help. So they've been the major people. They've had their, I guess their planning session for a couple of days, but not a lot. And then we had one group, a mentoring group in Sonar that wants to use the library for their mentoring group, but not, I wouldn't say we're inundated at all.
I mean, have anybody requested a group for 25 other than the tax?
We have had some. I don't have that exact number, but we have had some, but not an inundation where, you know, people are knocking down the doors, maybe, you know, a spattering here or there.
I mean, I'm concerned that this current variant is so contagious, even if the illness that comes with it's not as serious, that that's why I'm trying to get a feeling for, are people really still trying to do this, or could we reduce the size at least for a month and reconsider it at the February meeting?
Are you asking me?
Well, I'm asking the group generally, you know, when I
Okay.
ask you how many groups want to use it, you say you're not inundated. I want to know, is it 2 or 3? Or is it 15 groups?
So no, definitely not 15. The last I remember, there was one group for the main library. And I can certainly get back to you with the numbers, but just what I've been included on when they've emailed me. I know there've been groups that wanted bigger venues and we've had to turn them down. But as far as the ones who actually used the library, I can recall one at the main library, and we haven't had any. We've had an inquiry, you know, for a girls mentor group at Sonar.
Well, I know what other people think. You know, the city has restored the indoor mask mandate. It's been highly contagious. I mean, I'm in favor of reducing it, but what do other people think? At least for the next month.
Are they using the auditorium? I mean, 25 people in the auditorium would be,
Double social distance.
yes. So, you know, I mean, if that is the requirement, anything of that size, it would have to be in the auditorium. Might be. the
Well, that's what it
resolution.
is, Patsy. Right now, anything
Okay.
that we have is in the auditorium.
Okay.
And we've
So-
been very, very, very conservative. So there's, you know, there's the potential to spread out like double, triple.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
social distances.
So I think we're, you know, okay, if that's where they are meeting and that's controlled, that's where they are. But
Yeah,
that-
that's a
that
very,
doesn't help the branch, correct?
No, but it's 15, so they still have the opportunity to really
Okay.
spread out. Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
Who checks on the social distancing?
The guards. And the staff, to be honest, they check. So if somebody sees or thinks somebody doesn't have a mask on, they do report it. And we haven't really had, you know, a lot of people in, but the guard would be responsible for checking for masks and for social distancing.
I have
Well,
a,
he's been very good at the door. Sorry, Sharon. He's been very good at the door. I don't know, does he go up to the auditorium
He
and check
can
on a
go
group?
up when there's somebody in there. So what he would do is he would call if needed, you know, he can just let somebody know, hey, I'm, you know, doing a round, or he can call building services to sit at his post as he, you know, goes up.
Sorry, Sharon.
oh, it's okay. Just one of the things I wanted to talk about was the KN95 masks, and
Mhm.
people aren't wearing them. That's what kind of where it's spreading, from what I understand, right?
If people
Yes.
aren't wearing them,
KN95s, or this variant is going through regular masks, from what I understand, unless you have a KN95, or it goes through quicker. But I'm just wondering, when we have groups in, are we putting the staff at risk if they're not wearing appropriate masks? I actually did hear from somebody on that.
So that's a question I can pose to the health department.
Oh, geez, sorry.
But
I'm not even gonna talk about North Public Schools right now, but
Oh.
I'm gonna save that for another day.
No, I said the health department.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
politics before health. That seems to be the thing these days. It's on
Oh,
record. We'll move on, carry on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if we reduce the main library to 15, would that keep any group out who you know has requested it yet? For at least the next month?
Not that I know of, Alex.
So have we, are we saying the tax help can come in or not, or we're discussing that now? I mean, the tax group in particular.
Don't they have individual, as I recall, individual assistants come in and sit at it and help individual clients who sign up for appointments?
So last year, what they did is they did like the scanning, but then I think they may have done like what's like a quick, they helped them quickly. So initially it was supposed to be that the people come in, they come through the door, they give their documents and they scan it to whoever's going to do the tax prep. Right now, it's set up where they know they're renting, I mean, they're using the rooms, but they know in one place they can only have 25 people, including themselves, and in the other place, 15, including themselves.
Yeah, I just know from spending countless Saturdays at the library that how valuable a service that is to the community.
It's huge.
It's huge, yeah.
And the low income people appreciate it so much, so they don't have to go, we won't name the places, and they have to, you know, give
Always so busy.
half of their refund to these people for their fees.
Can we give them?
No, it's a great service.
KN95s? Sorry.
Can we give them? Yeah, I mean,
Million
even if we
95.
have to purchase it from our own budget, I think we may have, and again, I can speak, you know, to Lamont or someone in the city to see if we'll be able to get more.
Or the foundation could buy some.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a health expert, but it just seems like there are some services we have to keep going, you know, that have to keep going, so.
Well, I'm sure these accountants can get 995 masks. But I think they should be asked to wear them. And I think it'd be good if you can get us a count, Sherelle, of for the February meeting of what their need is. I agree, it's an excellent service, and I've been there the last couple of years. But this virus is unusually contagious at the moment, and since the city doesn't require vaccinations, it looks like if you're not boosted, you're also quite vulnerable to getting this.
Okay, so for the February meeting, I'm sorry, what is it that you want?
Could you check with well, we're going to then, I guess the decision is not, in November, we said we'd revisit the usage of rooms at the January meeting. I guess tonight, it seems to be the consensus not to change the 15 and 25, though I would like to, but that doesn't seem to be consensus. So at February, if you could check, assuming, again, we don't know what the virus level will be, if you could check with the tax folks about what their need is in terms of people in the room, so we can know, how any decision we make might impact them.
So, right, so I can actually let you know that now. So the tables will be set up where they're socially distanced and everyone has to, wear a mask. And I think they'll probably have 4 accountants at the main library, or maybe 5, I'm sorry, and then and 3 or 4 at Sonar.
Okay.
And it's done by appointment. so that people
Right.
aren't, just, waiting and hanging out and there's lines, so everything is done by appointment.
Yeah,
And it's, want to say, I think 3 people per appointment at Maine and 2 people per appointment at Sono.
and Shirley, I know you sent us a report about it, I think to everybody. What's the current situation with infections among the staff?
Oh, yeah, so we've had, all at the main library, we've had roughly 6 people, and I got a call today that somebody, they didn't say that they tested positive. They said it was detected, so I don't know what that means. So I was gonna call the health department tomorrow to find out, what's the difference in positive and detected.
Does anybody else want to discuss the 1525?
No.
Or we'll just continue the status quo until February? Makes me a little uneasy, I have to say, given the contagion, but
Well, I mean, I really think we should be giving out KN95s to protect the staff. Why? Have we talked to them about that? I have heard from one of them that they felt uncomfortable because people were walking around without the right masks and that they felt exposed. And I mean,
Was that person that you spoke with, do they have a KN95 mask? And are
staff
they,
does. Yeah, Cheryl
okay, the
gave out
staff does.
masks. Right, but
But they're saying that they want the clients to have N95 masks. I don't think that's a state law, and I don't know if it's something that we're going to be able to require.
no, KN95,
have-
can we give them out? They're just paper masks. I just don't
Right,
see why we wouldn't try to protect our staff.
And I agree with you. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so we're back to if we can't buy them within our operating budget, can we ask the foundation to purchase some?
I think that's a great idea.
It's a great idea to give it. Here's the thing. You can give them, but if somebody doesn't want to wear it,
Exactly.
you cannot make them wear it.
Yeah, but they can't use the library if they don't wear a mask.
No, I mean, the one that you give out doesn't mean that you're gonna give it to them and they're gonna put it. 'Cause
Right.
if they have a mask on, they're not gonna take off the mask hat and put on that. You understand what I'm saying?
But it's at least
So
a
that's-
proactive
Right.
thing to
But
do.
that's what you just
know.
gotta understand that.
Yeah.
And to suggest that, that because of,
They're
So
not going.
they'll take them off.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying.
but I thought the city was saying they were going to distribute masks to nonprofit organizations and essential workers.
Yeah.
So we did
I
get.
mean, they're a nonprofit organization that does the tax consulting, right?
Mhm.
Well, I think the position is this, why don't you try, ask Lamont if the city has any. If we can get them from the city, then, can't be that expensive to purchase, 100 masks to use over the next couple of days, and then encourage the tax preps to purchase some as well.
Okay,
Got
my
it.
question is, the city does give out masks, but I don't think they're the N95s.
And I'm not sure that
Okay.
they had enough. The city distribution from which we received was from the fire department. And, I thought it would be a little bit more. We were grateful definitely for what we received. But, between all the different departments, we weren't able to give out like a whole heck of a lot.
Okay.
Well, again, can you ask Lamont if the city has some for nonprofit organizations?
Sure.
Because our staff is taking care of. It's now whether the clients who come in to have their tax prep work done will have them on. And if they can't, then, we can go out and purchase 100 or something. We can deal with that.
But that could be for those people, but we also have people that are walking around the library. We have, different people. So are we going to purchase them and give them to everybody? Are we just doing this for for these people who are going to be in a whole different room.
I thought she
So,
said
so the
200.
point being is that they're more exposed to the people who are in the departments.
Mhm. Well, I thought that was a point that you wanted to give it to everybody because she said it was a client that they're uncomfortable with the clients.
So,
But
yeah, I
not like-
wasn't sure if it was just the
Yeah.
tax, because I keep hearing tax people on one hand. So is it that we're giving them to the clients, or are we giving them only to the tax clients who are going to be segregated in the auditorium? But then we also have people who are sitting around the library or walking around the library. So that has to be taken into consideration as well.
Well, look, I think we've had this discussion in the past. It had a very unproductive one with Lamont who says it's the city's decision how to handle masking. So we would like the city to require N95 masks. And as Janie just said, if they don't, then we can't require someone to wear one as long as they have some other mask on them. I think this is something Lamont and the health department have to mandate.
I can ask.
Yeah, they're KN95s. They're a little bit they're a little lighter than the 9.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to protect the staff. So
I think we all are, Sharon. We're all very concerned. We want to protect it, but
Absolutely.
we have to work within, what the city's confines are. And if they can't, then maybe we can do it as a foundation.
gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, then maybe you can let us know the results, Sherelle, in February.
Sure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Well, yeah,
entertaining.
the tax prep, I think it actually begins soon. It begins at the end of January.
We'll see if Lamont has masks or can,
Okay,
mandate
I'll
them,
do
or,
that. Okay.
Okay, well, that's the end of my part of the agenda. So Sherelle?
So you'd already asked about the staff, and I reported the number of COVID cases that we have at the main library. So according to the new CDC recommendations and also the Norwalk Health Department, I updated the COVID reporting chart. So staff know what to do if they've been in close contact with a COVID case, or if they've tested positive for a COVID case.
Okay.
And so the basic difference is they wanted to make sure that people understood what, close contact is. And then that there's been the reduction of the isolation time. So those were, that's the basic difference is, they don't require the 10 days, it's now the 5 days. But I've also been reading too, because so many people are getting COVID, so they have the antibodies, and then the people that have been boosted, that they're thinking that that it'll reach its peak. Actually, I think it said this weekend, and so it'll be interesting to see, toward the end of the month, where we are as far as cases and things like that.
For sure.
So they're thinking that we may reach herd immunity.
Well, everybody who's predicted this kind of stuff has gotten bit by it. So
True, but I'm just keeping up with whatever they're saying, because we didn't think, we thought we were at the end of this. And here
ain't
we
gonna
are.
happen.
And here we are.
Yeah, and the new thing on that too, right, is like you said, the 5-day return after testing positive. But then when you come back, you're not testing at all after 5 days. You just have to be symptom free. So essentially, you're coming back on the 6th day after having COVID.
Mhm.
Yeah. Glad I'm retired.
And that's for Norwalk Public Schools too. We had 985 cases last week.
Right.
Whoa. Wow. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
All right, Cheryl, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think people were pretty happy with the fine free. We did get a few questions like, well, how is that gonna, that means people are never gonna return books. So we did explain, that, we shortened the time, before it goes into, you can't check out any books at all, and that you have to pay for a book once it goes to lost item. And so, but a lot of people, very appreciative.
The article was, I thought, very good for us, for the library, and getting that message out. Well done.
I think they did a great job. So kudos to the board for making it happen.
All
And then
righty,
the
thank
only
you.
other thing that I had, that I included the public library comparisons. So I'm still looking through it all, but I'm looking at, libraries that are similar to ours and what their budget is, their population and that. But I just thought it was fascinating to look at the comparison side by side.
I want
Actually,
everybody to know this. There's going to be a quiz on that next month.
Yeah. I
Too many pages.
hit the wrong button and I actually printed the whole thing out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I guess, oh my God, it's never gonna stop. So, but I have looked at some, and it's absolutely fascinating information.
Yes, it is.
And I think it's a basis for us to look at things deeper, and get a better understanding of who we are and how we serve our clientele. So I think we need to put this information to use.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you, Sherelle.
Anytime.
My little printer is very tired though.
I'll probably owe you some ink, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Sherelle, have we sent out the survey or is?
No, we have not. I'm waiting for the adult departments, the main library adult department to come around again. I think they sent their blast out next week. So hopefully in 2 weeks, we should get it out. Thank you for asking. And so you're gonna be one of the recipients, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You're okay? Oh, yay. So I'm gonna put you down as being one of the people to receive.
Well, I assume the whole board is.
I thought you meant the general survey. You mean the actual data. Yeah, no, I'm.
Are you okay with it?
No,
Yay.
I would be happy to see it.
Because you helped a lot. I really enjoyed your input.
Yeah, that was fun.
But I thought that was really nice. So, and it'll be great for a board member, to be able to help tally and see what's going on too.
That'd be good.
Okay.
I have one more question. Are we like on old business or new business or? just-
Sure, go ahead.
It's kind of related to what we're talking about. Are we still keeping tabs of our who's coming and not coming, like entries?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I would be curious because I like whenever I go, I feel like there's just hardly anyone in the library. Is that like indicative of what is actually the case?
I think people are just cautious. So they come, they get what they want, and they skedaddle.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they do use it. As a matter of fact, I was just looking at some of this. I know at the branch, some of the Spanish numbers have really gone up. So people, they're not like hanging out. You do have some, that come and, they want to either
Use the
watch their
internet,
movies or
Wi-Fi.
they're
Yeah.
doing a resume or they need to print out lots of return labels. We've been getting a lot of people logging in to print out return labels. But for the most part, a lot of people are just cautious. They do use the library. They just come in and they're not hanging out. They're just taking care of business and leaving.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's any way. I mean, I know it's like a pain to put some of that reporting together, and maybe not
okay.
even monthly, but like maybe quarterly or something, just to, especially, pre-COVID, COVID, and then just to see how we come out of COVID, you know, and what that looks like too. Might
So
be.
you mean like people that are using the library or just overall, like circulation and?
Well, I don't know, whatever, like, I don't, some of those stats, like, just
Or
either
numbers?
circulation or like people coming in and out of the library, like traffic
Sure,
in
yep.
and out of the library. I'd be curious.
I'll have that.
Don't
for
we
the
have a
next-
door number tracker, Sherelle? Do we
We
still
do.
have that?
Every month.
Okay, yeah, every month we have a door number tracker
Yep. So
Yeah,
of how
and
many
this-
people are coming in and out.
Yeah, it would.
Although I have to make sure, because I know at one point, it malfunctioned, at the main, but we reset it. So I think it should be okay now. But definitely, Maureen, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we want, I mean, you know, it's COVID, so we want to, but it would be just.
Yeah, to see the numbers
And
of
hopefully one
served
day
and-
as we come out of COVID to see what.
That would be good
How
to have a
things change.
base information.
And I remember Patsy advised at one point, because some of the things we weren't tracking, not to lose track of it, so that when we come out of COVID, we can start tracking it
Exactly.
again.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, are we done?
Okay.
Hey, 9:51.
So I wonder if there's no other business, if we could adjourn this meeting and not leave the Zoom for a minute and just have a quick update from Janie.
Well, does that, how do you not have it on the record then?
Because we
With-
stop recording it, we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, who manages the
Hold
recording?
on, I had to manage it. I had to, hold on, let me just see how to stop recording. Hold on.
We know about transitions. They take a while.
Hold
Yes,
on.
they do.
We're so good at
Well-
it though, right?
Well, don't do it yet, sure, until we adjourn.
Okay, okay.
Okay, I move to adjourn.
All right. All in favor,
second.
please say aye. Raise your hand, all against. Okay, can we adjourn? Please stop recording.
Okay,
Thank you
hold
for the
on, let me
city.
see if I can do this. Are you sure you want to stop recording? Yes.
Please.